Next question is you mentioned about the MPIO and bonding. What do you mean by multiple NICs? Basically, what the MPIO requirements are is that you need 2 NICs, and they must have to be separate IP addresses. Can't be the same IP address. What you're going to do is on the Microsoft side or the ESX side, we talk about or inform you how to configure the MPIO. There you configure the 2 NICs, and that's basically it. Is that you're utilizing the MPIO to take advantage of, let's say, the 3rd octet here is .1, and the other NIC would be, let's say, 1.222 or 2.222 or 2.221. So you're using 2 NICs, and so the performance value is significantly high. Here's the next question. Please suggest do's and don'ts for upgrading from NICs to FBAs or to HBAs while using remote failover functionality. I might need a little bit more help on that question. It says, please suggest do's and don'ts for upgrading from NICs to FBAs while using remote failover functionality. Not sure I understand that question. If you can retype it differently, I might be thinking that on network interface controllers that you have existing on Auto Failover. So maybe I think what you're referencing to is if I'm using Auto Failover and each one is my primary node, then I'd want to put my virtual IP address on that. But I also want to make sure that the auxiliary connection is also set. And I want to definitely make sure that, let's say, E6, which is my volume replication dedicated NIC, which is the 192.168.5.x, to make sure that auxiliary is set for that. Any other that are not being used, do not set for the auxiliary. If I do want to use E3 for the virtual IP address, I can. And also just make sure that you set it on a different subnet than the physical IP address on this machine that is on this machine. So you want to make sure that if you put for another IP address on here, that it's not an IP address on the same subnet that's physically here. Next question. In the release notes, you mentioned new features with the Lsi controllers. Can you get more details on that? It's just basically more information on the expander. I unfortunately do not have the Lsi expander on this system, but the Lsi array controller, obviously many of you know that the value of DSS with the Lsi is that we have it integrated into our GUI. 3-ware, Areca, they're all fine cards. We just open up another window tab here to a different port. So you would be able to get a lot of information of the expander, and now you'd be able to manage the expander. So unfortunately, I don't have one here, DEG, to be able to help you out on that. So that pretty much wraps up a lot of the questions, unless I'm going to hang on for a few more minutes. Okay, we got another one. The question is, we want to replace 1 gigabit NICs with fiber channel HBAs, looking for recommendation procedure. Okay, if you're going to use fiber channel HBAs, we're not replicating fiber channel, we're replicating through Ethernet. Let me explain this. So if you look at the volume replication section here, this looking for a server IP address. So we're not replicating via fiber channel, though we are replicating the data that's on the fiber channel volume. Keep in mind that this logical volume 001 can be fiber channel. It can be a NAS volume. It can actually be, a nice SCSI. We don't have auto failover for NAS or fiber channel, but we're looking into it. But you would need an IP address. So you're not going to be able to replicate over a fiber channel HBA. So when you make sure that, I hope I addressed your question properly, but I think that's what you're asking. So when your fiber channel HBAs are going to be solely used to be able to create fiber channel targets in the fiber channel target manager. Okay, next question. Should you delete the previous image once you update the latest software? Thank you. Excellent question. what he's talking about is when you do software update. I did have this happen, I think a while back ago. Customer couldn't update. And the reason why was because he already had 3 updates. So he maxed out his capacity or space to add any more new updates. So he had some old versions. So here, what he's talking about is, let's say I have 3 of them in here. It comes out to about a little bit over 1 gig. So there's really no room for my 1 gig USB module. So you're going to have to remove some. And he makes a very good point about that. Thank you very much. So you might want to go ahead and do that. You can always bring them back in, and you can roll back. Before I did the webinar, I was making sure everything was working because we do a lot of testing. I myself as well. And I rolled back to 4622 while I was doing auto failover. And the only thing I noticed was that the remote access to the console went back to default, which is inherent. Why we're looking to update that in the future releases, but it's really not that important. You can get access to it. But I was able to delete and remove and add. Next question. Do I still have to stop the HA service and iSCSI target in order to add more drives and a new volume? Okay, this is going to DTO 244. Give me some time on this, and I'll help you work it out. What he's asking here is, do I have to stop the HA service and iSCSI target in order to add more drives and a new volume? So it's like a loaded question, but because there is a lot of information here, and I want everybody to listen to this question because it is a good question. All right, what he's saying is, let's say I have the auto failover working now. Okay, everything looks good. It's fine. And let's say this is the server, the primary server you want to increase capacity to. Now, if you're increasing, let's say, for example, this logical volume. Let's say you ran out of space. You need to, and by the way, if I'm not getting all the information, if you want some more information, let me know, and I'll check back with the chat window. Okay, so we're running out of space out of logical volume 001. He needs to add, let's say, another 100 gig. What do you have to do? At that point in time, you do have to stop the service. So, to give you an example, we would have to go to the iSCSI failover, and then we would have to stop it. Then once the service is stopped, obviously because if you increase that logical volume, you're going to have a mix match size on the volume replication, and you're going to have issues. So you have to do it on both. So they have to match in size. So if we go in here, we're going to have to make sure that the iSCSI failover did not pass. Good, it's down. We stop the service. And then from the volume replication on both, we're going to have to stop the running task here. We can increase the size on the logical volume, but it won't allow you because it's locked down into a replicated task. Giving you the freedom to do that can cause problems. So we would have to stop the tasks. This will also stop it on the secondary. Then we go into the volume manager, volume groups, and on the left, we'll see that the iSCSI volume block IO still will not allow me to do anything. Even if I were to try to modify it, I can't. Let's bring this back up. The only thing I can do is I can't add any more capacity. So I have to use the volume replication, apply it, take it off, and remove it. And remove the task. Then apply the new size. So make sure that it also on the same for the secondary, that the volume sizes are the same, and make sure that the task is removed. By the way, resyncing doesn't take that long because you're only picking up what you just last added up, so you're not resyncing the whole volume. Because we did some new tuning and scripts for the metadata to store. So here we'll go back to the volume manager, and then you go ahead at this point, take the volume replication off. And then once you remove the replication task, this will allow you to either delete it, which don't recommend, or to be able to increase the size. So now I can add 100 gig to that volume, which was 10 gigs, so we should have 110 now. And then once that's completed, reverse the process. Basically, at this point, it's going to update itself with the replicated task that we were going to assign it. Here we go, we're going to add it. Add the task back. Then once this is complete, start your replication task and go forward with your auto failover setup. I think that answered your question. Next topic is an off topic. For the backup to an attached tape drive, is there a separate licensing cost for functionality? No, there's no. All what you see here on DSS is a one-time cost. The only time you would probably have an associated cost with DSS is right now I'm working with a version that is, well, let's use this one here, it'll be a better example. Here's 17 terabyte capacity. If I needed to add additional capacity, I can purchase that and then add another license key. And those costs you can find here. You can purchase it right here on our, let's see, where to buy products. Here we go. Products, and then, of course, click right here on buy, and then you'll see that you can add additional license keys here. So you can purchase a 4 terabyte or 8 terabyte to increase your license capacity. Next question. We recently set up remote replication. How can we see and possibly use the data at the remote site? Okay, very good question. What synchronous is, it's very difficult for us to be able to post that on since we stopped the replication task, I can't show you, but typically you want to go into status tasks. Now this is not going to show you what is there, but it's going to tell you that it's synchronous, it's consistent. Now on the secondary system, what you'd want to do is to verify that, okay, let's want to make sure that the secondary system actually has updated data on it. Well, if it wasn't, obviously you'd get an alert message that the task has failed, or the replication, there was an error, the auto failover had an issue, therefore it couldn't write to the secondary. You'd probably get a D unknown message. Or what you could do to verify is you create a snapshot. And when you create a snapshot, you want to assign it to the iSCSI logical volume that you're replicating. So on the secondary system, as we load this up, you'd want to create a snapshot in the logical volume manager, and then from there, assign it. So here we take a new snapshot. We'll assign it to this volume right here, which is our block volume. And you can read up on the snapshot what size to use, virtually 3 times the amount of writes you think you're going to have, or 10 to 12%. Some can go lower depending upon how you write, but you have to understand your environment. You can go on our line to how-to resources and read all about the snapshot. And here we'll select to be assigned for this logical volume. Now once we do that, you can see the snapshot will be assigned to this logical volume, and it's inactive. And then what we would do in our iSCSI target manager is come into the target that we have, and here I've assigned the snapshot for this logical volume. You go ahead and enable it, and then start your snapshot schedule, and then take your point your initiator to rescan, and then you can access your data, and that'll verify it.